I gotta show you guys. It turned out adorable. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? It is so pretty. This fabric line is by Moda. It's called Nantucket Summer. Isn't it gorgeous? It is just absolutely beautiful. Okay. Now the embroidery design, the beehive is the Kimberbell beehive. And look at those two adorable bumblebees. Aren't they cute? Those are from Designs by Juju. And I snagged them off the Busy Bee monogram. And I merged the designs together in a single hooping using Embrilliance Essentials. I'm going to show you how to do that. It's just gorgeous. Sherry, you did a beautiful job. So pretty. I absolutely love it. Can't wait to put it on my table. Stitch the August Kimberbell Cuties Table Topper, and it's an adorable little beehive on this month's topper. So I am going to bring the design into Embrilliance Essentials, and I'm going to create some SVG cut files to cut out the applique pieces on my Scan and Cut. And then I'm going to modify the design a little bit and merge in another design and make it cute. The first thing I want to do is go get the design, and it's in a file folder here on my desktop. It is the beehive, and I'm pulling this in. This is a 6x10 hoop. I need to make SVG cut files for each piece of the beehive and the little door. If we come over here to the Objects panel, there is the design, and if you click the plus sign and you open it up, you can see all of the elements that make up the design. So I'm just going to click out here in the outside anywhere to deselect it, and I'm going to go through here and just take a look at the design by clicking on each element, and it will highlight on the screen and show me exactly what that element is. Here is the placement line that you would normally stitch, and I'm not going to stitch that because I'm just going to print out the design and figure out where I want it to go on my topper and use a Designs and Machine Embroidery target sticker, or you could use the Brother or Baby Lock Snowman. Either one will work. So I'm just going to hit delete on my keyboard and get rid of that. I don't need that. Okay. So now let's go through it. I'm going to click on this. This is the placement line for the fabric for the bottom piece of the beehive. And what you can do is click over here on this color chip in the properties section. There's two tabs, color and stitches. I'm going to click on the color tab, and I'm just going to click on the chip. It does not matter what color this is. I'm just going to click the chip, and a thread dialog box opens up, and it has two tabs, color and applique. I want to click on applique. It comes up with style as not applique. I'm going to click the drop down and choose applique position. And here in this little box right here, it says cutting, inflate. I want to make this 1.0 millimeters, and I'm just going to click save. And it wants to know where I want to save it. I'm actually going to put it on my desktop in a folder I already have set up for KB Topper, Kimberbell Topper, and August. And I'm going to put this and call it Hive 1. And you can see it is a scalable vector graphic. It's an SVG file. This is how you make SVG files for your cutting machine, and that way you don't have to cut them out by hand. I'm going to click save. And you can change the dots per inch in SVG files. You really don't need to do anything with it. The default is 96, which is fine. I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to click OK. And when I clicked OK the second time, that changed that 1.5 millimeter default to 1.0. All right, so let's go to the next one. This is the tack down line for the bottom piece of the hive. Here is the placement line for the second piece. I'm going to click the chip, go to applique, choose applique position, and see the inflate is 1.0. I have found this to be perfect. And I'm just going to click save, and I'm going to call it Hive 2 as the second piece in that hive, and click save and OK and OK. There's the tack down for the second piece, placement line for the third piece. Click the chip, applique, applique position, save, hive 3, save, OK, and OK. There's the tack down. There's the top placement line. Click the chip, applique, applique position, save, hive 4, save, OK, and OK. There's the tack down line for that. There's the placement line for the door. Click the chip, applique, applique position, save, and door. Save. OK. And OK. All right, so I have all of those saved. So now I want to add some cute little bumblebees to this hive and give it a little pizzazz. So I'm going to go to my folder down here on my desktop, and I chose a Designs by Juju Busy Bee monogram. This is super cute. And I tell you what I'm going to do before that. Let me click off of this. Up here in the file, I'm going to click New. And that's going to give me a new tab up here. See that? And I'm going to grab that monogram and just bring it in. Now this is the 3-inch. This monogram comes in several sizes. I've been playing with it and I found that the 3-inch fits just perfect. So there's a lot of elements in this design that I don't want. All I want is the bee and his little buzzy trail. That's all I'm looking for. So I chose bee because my name's Becky. So I am going to click the plus sign here in the Objects window. And as I go through the design, I can see there's the yellow part of the bee body. There's the bee wings. And there's the bee detail stitching. Now here's the letter B. And we now have flower parts, flower detail, leaves, flowers, and flower detail. So I'm going to highlight the B, the letter B. I'm going to hold down my Shift key and highlight the bottom one and highlight all of these together, and I'm going to hit delete on my keyboard. And I'm left with just the B, and this is exactly what I wanted. I'm going to click on it and right-click, copy. And then I'm going to come back over here to this tab, and I'm going to right-click and paste. And there's my little bee. Look at that. Isn't that cute? Oh my goodness, that's adorable. Okay, I'm going to put that right there. And he needs a buddy. All right, so I'm going to right-click, copy, and then click off of it and right-click and paste. And it pasted directly on top of the other one. So bring it up. There's our other one. And he needs to be flying a different direction. So I'm going to come over here, and there is 2 boxes up here on this icon, and there's a flip vertically or flip horizontally. I want to flip horizontal. There we go. And I'm going to turn him around a little bit. Maybe like that. Not quite so far. How about like this? Isn't that cute? Oh my goodness. Embrilliance will automatically decrease the stitches underneath the bee. Okay. So I like this. This is super cute. I think that looks great. So we've got buzzing bees around our hive, and you want to make sure they're in the right stitch order, that you've got the beehive first so that the beehive stitches before the bee on top of it. And if it is not first, you can right click over here in the objects panel and you can move earlier, later, first, or last. So see, if I didn't bring the beehive in until the last part, see how the beehive is on top of the bee right now? I don't want that. I'm over here. You can't do it over here on the screen. You'll get a copy Option. I don't want to copy. Over here in the objects, this is stitch order right over here. Right click, move first. There. And now the bee is back on top of the beehive. This looks adorable. I really like it. Now I'm going to do a little bit of an advanced option here called color sorting. And color sorting is great if you have a single needle machine and you want to stitch all of the same colors at the same time and not have to go through so many different thread changes. If we go to the utility menu up here and I do a color sort, it says the design has been reduced by 5 color changes. Let me X out of this. Right now, we have a total of 12 thread stops in the beehive, and we have 3 thread stops, so that's 15 in the first bee, and 3 thread stops the second bee. So that's a total of 18 thread stops. Well, that's kind of a pain, and I don't want to change the thread 18 different times. I want to stitch all the yellow at one time. I want to stitch all of the black at one time. And you've kind of got to think about how these would work, and you need to assign them different colors. And it's really easy to do that. And if you don't have a multi-needle, this is what the multi-needle does automatically. But if you don't have a multi-needle, this is a great way to really expedite your stitching so you're not sitting at the machine all day long doing thread changes. I think the first thing I want to do is change all of my thread colors to Isocord Poly. That's my preferred embroidery thread in Embrilliance. And I'm just going to click the preferred button. To make a preferred thread on the color tab, you just click thread and you get it says select a thread brand from the list. Isocord Poly. I'm using Dimes Exquisite, but it is not listed here. I don't think. I don't see Exquisite and I don't see Dime. So I'm going to stick with Isocord Poly. It really does not matter, but I'm going to click use this as my preferred brand. Some people are very particular about getting exact color numbers, and you can certainly do that by assigning the threads here, but I'm going to click OK. And you can see it changed everything over to Isocord Poly. All right, so what the digitizer has done is they have all of the placement stitches in the colonial blue, and then all of the tack downs are in the bright mint. Okay, well, I don't want all of the placement lines to happen at one time. I want to stop between each one, but on the machine, I'm not going to change the thread color. I'm going to leave the thread color on the machine the same. The machine does not care. So we will leave the first 2 as the colonial blue. This is the placement line for hive 1, and there's the tack down for hive 1, and that's mint. Okay. Now the next one, I'm going to just change the color. It doesn't matter what. My favorite way to do this is to just click the color chip and choose the one right underneath it. And I'm going to choose fog and click OK. And then this one is the tack down. I don't want it to be the same color because I don't want it to stitch right after this one. So I am going to click that and choose the next one down. So I've gone one down on both of those. Okay, here's colonial blue again. I want to click this. I'm going to choose the next one down. So I'm just assigning different thread colors so that they don't stitch all at the same time in a color sort. And we're going to click this one, and I'm going to go down 4, because that's hive 4. Okay, and then this one, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then here's the door. I want this to be in black for the final satin stitch, but not for the placement or the tack down line, because I want it to stitch at a different time than the final satin stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and click the color chip, And I'm going to choose the fifth one down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And tell it okay. That's the Pacific blue. Actually, I'm going to go to black and tell it go. And I'm going to choose the one underneath, mahogany, and tell it okay. And then here is the tack down line. I'm going to click the chip. I'm going to type in black and go. I'm going to choose chrome. Okay, that's fine. Black chrome. All right. Now this is a gold and Spanish gold. That's okay. I'm going to leave that there as a separate color. And then this is black, which is fine. Okay. Now let's get to the bees. So this bee is the canary, and go to the next one, and this bee is the canary. That's good. So these two bee bodies will stitch at the same time. Now we have this. This is fieldstone. That's fine. I'm going to use a silver and fieldstone. Okay, so the little wings will stitch at the same time. And here is the black, and here is the black. So the black in the bees and the black satin stitch around the door will happen at the same time. Now I can go through, I'm going to Control A to select all. I'm going to go to Utility and go Color Sort. And it says the design has been reduced by 3 color changes. Okay, don't click Save It or you'll change the original design. Click New View. And now when we look at this, we have only one design with the 2 bees already on it. And each one of these is a different color. Now, it'll stop and allow us to put down the applique and iron it on and all that, but it is going to stitch the black and the bees all at the same time. Here we go with the hive. It's going to stitch the satin stitch first. There's the bee bodies. I want the bee bodies first. Then it's going to stitch the wings, and then there is the black on the bee detail. I want all of the black stitches to stitch at the same time. So I'm going to take the door on the picture, and you can either right click and move later, which it'll just drop one, or you can right click and hover it over the picture, the one you want it to be after. So now it's going to stitch bee gold, bee wings, the door, and then the bee detail. So that is that's one single thread change right there between the silver and the black, but it's going to do 2 different parts of the design. So that's perfect. Everything is going to be just exactly the same. I'm going to use the same thread color. I'm probably going to put in a gold and just let it stitch all the way through, but it's because I made them different colors, it's going to stop at each change. So in reality, I'm only using 4 thread changes. I'm going to have gold all the way through the hive. I'm going to use a different gold or yellow for the bee body. So there's 2, there's 3, and there's 4. So now I only have to change my thread 4 times instead of 18. Isn't that great? Okay, I'm all finished with this now. I want to go Utility, Send to Solaris XP1. The XP1 is the Brother Luminaire. Solaris is the Baby Lock Solaris. And this also works for the Brother and Baby Lock 10 needles. I'm going to click that utility. I'm going to call it Beehive and OK. And it says File Sent to Machine. And I'm going to tell it OK. If you do not have wireless capability on your machine, you can say File, Save Stitch File As, and you can use this drop-down arrow right here and navigate to a USB that you have plugged into your laptop. Okay, I'm just going to hit Cancel. Once I have my applique files ready to go, I am ready to stitch this out. I had already uploaded this prior to making this part of the video. To upload the SVG files that was saved when I went through the design, you can just click this icon right here that says SVG and click Choose File, and then navigate to where your files are saved. I'm going to hit Cancel here. because they were saved on another computer. I had to switch computers, drama. Anyway, and then you would click OK. So I'm just going to click cancel. But that's what I had done, and I had saved it up here in the Canvas workspace. I called it AUG-KB Topper. Now I need 4 of these. So I need 4 of every single piece, and I need 4 doors. I'm going to highlight all of these, and I'm going to right click and group, and I'm going to turn them so it's like this and move it right over here. I'm going to right click and duplicate and move that right over here. Right click, duplicate. I'm going to spin it around upside down and bring it down here. I think I need to move this up. And right click and duplicate. I'm going to take the door. I'm just going to put it up here. And then I'm going to spin this one around and move it down here. So I'll be able to cut all 4 of these hives for each corner of the topper at the same time. And I'm going to go ahead and leave the door on the screen because I'm going to download it, and then I will cut the door separately. I don't have the space to be able to cut all 4 doors at the same time. I will do that again after I cut the hives. So all I need to do now is go to download, select the file transfer method. I can download to PC or I can do scan and cut transfer. I'm going to click scan and cut transfer, and it says it's ready, and I'm going to click close. Okay, that's it. I'm here at the scan and cut, and I have my fabric with heat and bond light on the back of it, and I have adhered it to the turquoise low tack mat. So this is going to be the fabric for all of the beehives. And let me zoom in so you can see what I'm going to do on the screen. On the screen, when you first turn on the scan and cut, you've got 2 big buttons right here. This is pattern and scan. The pattern button is for patterns that are in the machine when you bought it, and then scan would be if you were going to scan a paper applique pattern. What I want to do is retrieve data that I sent down from the Brother Cloud. So I'm going to hit retrieve data, and it wants to know where do you want to get it from. So I could get it from inside the machine, from the cloud, from a USB, or I might be cabled to my computer. I'm going to get it from the cloud, and it says retrieving. And there are all of my pieces right there. So that is the design that I want. And the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of that little door because I don't have that fabric on my mat. So I'm going to touch the door. Whoop. Let me see if I can get it. There it is. And I'm going to go to edit, and I'm just going to hit delete for the door. And are you sure you want to delete the selected data? I'm going to tell it okay. All right, so all the rest of it is ready to go. So I right now am going to, I know that everything will fit, but if you had a situation where you weren't sure, I would back out of this menu by clicking OK. And here, this button right here is to scan the mat and take a picture of the mat. And there we go. Now I can make sure that all of my pieces are going to cut on fabric. I'm going to tell it OK. It says please select, cut, and start. And it's going to take 4 minutes. That's a lot less time than it would take me to cut all these out. All right. Let me pull these up. Now, a lot of times when you make your own SVG files, you'll get like one thread that just needs to be trimmed off on pieces. Not a big deal. Very common. I don't find that that happens with paper applique patterns when you scan those, but when you make your own SVG files, maybe that's just my machine. I don't know. But it does happen. Not a big deal. I just get in there and just trim that one little thread. So I need to take these off so that I've got all of the pieces to each hive in the same pile. Let me get the mat out. When you take your pieces off, you kind of want to scrape, and that way you don't tug them. There. Okay, so there's one. All right, that's it. And I will cut these little pieces off right here and save this piece in my tray underneath for extra. Okay, now I need to put the black on so I can get my doors made. My mat has seen better days, so on the back I'm going to take a little Sulky's KK2000. Just give it a little spray. And that'll work really well. There. Tell it okay. Now what I'm going to do is put the mat back in the machine. And I'm going to start all over. Go to home. The home button up there. So okay to delete all patterns. I'm going to tell it okay. And retrieve data. It's going to pull down the design again. All right. Now what I want to do is now I'm going to touch this beehive, edit, delete, okay, trash can, okay, trash can, okay, and trash can, okay. And then that one right there, I'm going to move it, I think like right about here. And I want to object edit. And this top row of buttons right here, there's a stretchy arrow. I don't want to mess with the size because it's already set with the embroidery design. And here, the one with the plus sign, that's the multiples. I'm going to touch that. I need 4. Tell it okay. And I want them to be all in a line. So I'm just going to move the last one down, and then this one, and then this one. And I'm going to tell it okay. And I want to line them up. I'm going to hit this button right here with the 3 red boxes. That's a group. Do you want to group part of the mat or all of the mat? I'm going to tell it all of the mat. And so they're all selected. I'm going to tell it okay. And object edit. And there's an alignment button right here. You can see the white box and the blue box with a line. And I want them all to be lined up to the left. It doesn't matter, but now they're all in a straight line so that they'll easily go onto my fabric. I'm going to tell it okay, and okay, and okay. And now I'm going to scan the mat and start. That looks real good. They need to move over just a little bit. All right, so instead of moving each one individually, I'm going to go to edit, and they're all selected. I'm just going to grab one and move them so that they're more in the center of the fabric. Move them up a little bit, and that way I've got more extra down there for scrap. I'm going to tell it okay, and okay, select, cut, and start. All finished. I'm going to tell it okay and eject the mat. There's that little string. It's like right at the start-stop point that happens. Okay, very good. All right, all my doors are cut now. I'm ready to stitch them on the topper. Okay, I'm over here at the luminaire, and I already have this topper has been sandwiched already with batting in the middle, and it has a backing on it. And I've got a little bit of extra space out here. This is the smallest magnetic hoop that I have for this particular machine. So I think this is going to stitch out okay. These magnets are pretty strong, and I don't think we're going to have any problems with it. We'll cross our fingers, okay? So I have printed it out and trimmed it to within 1/4 of an inch all the way around. And I put an arrow on the printout to tell me which way is the top of the design up there. And so the printout from Embrilliance already has the crosshair in the middle, and I've just got it pinned in place. You could put a Target sticker there if you wanted, or a snowman sticker. I didn't do that. I'm just leaving that there, and I'll pull the pins when it's time. So on the screen, I'm going to go to embroidery, and I'm going to go to the pocket for memory, and I'm going to hit the wireless icon. And there is my beehive right there. Now, I was playing with it earlier. This one right here is not color sorted. I wanted beehive. So I'm going to tell it set. And there it is. It's ready to go. Now, on the luminaire, you've got a couple of different options to be able for placement to do. But right now, I'm just going to go to embroidery. And on the W, there's a icon right here that says W for the embroidery foot. And if I touch that, it will display a crosshair down on the project. So the green crosshair just popped up right here. And I need to get that crosshair in alignment with this crosshair. So over on the screen, I'm going to touch layout and move. And I'm going to use the jog buttons to move the hoop so that it's under the crosshair. That's pretty good. That's like perfect right there. So now I can take my pins out and remove the paper. Now this crosshair feature is present in many of the Brother machines. With the luminaire also, above the layout button there is a cone, and the cone will display the design down onto your fabric. Let me show you. Can you see this? So I'm going to touch the red box on the screen and drag it down. I want to make sure that the swirl for the buzzy swirl for the bee is in the right spot, and that looks real good. I can see I've got a little less than 1/2 inch right here on this corner of the hive. And if I move it over here, I've got a little bit, about the same amount over here on this part of the hive. I'm going to move it just a tiny bit that way. And one more. I think that'll look good. Yeah, now they're about the same amount. So see, I love this feature of the luminaire to be able to display the design down onto your project before you stitch. That's awesome. So I'm going to tell it okay. And I need to thread my machine. So up here on my machine, I have the gold thread that is going to be for all of the stitches for the beehive ahead of time in the beginning. And then I have silver for the wings. And in the back behind my machine, I have a tree stand back there, a color thread stand. And I've got extra threads on there from other projects, but I'm going to use this yellow for the bee and this black for the bee as well. And then I have their thread tails for all of these threads hooked up in this little spring up here at the top. That little spring, and that way everything is tucked up and out of the way and not going to get caught up in the embroidery at all. So I have already pulled the thread through the machine, and on an embroidery machine, you just have to remember it's a sewing machine from the beginning, except that the arm is moving the hoop around. Okay, so on most home embroidery machines that are single needles, it's going to thread exactly like your sewing machine. I just use this thread guide up here at the top that is really for bobbins. This one right here, and I have my thread coming down, and I like to clip it into there so that it doesn't pull this way, it comes around, and then it threads exactly like your sewing machine. So it's really simple. I'm just going to touch the auto threader button, and I'm ready to go. So it's going to stitch out the placement line for hive piece number 1. I have a 70 weight pre-wound bobbin from Dime in the bobbin case. This design was not digitized to trim the jump threads. This machine does trim jump threads, but this one wasn't designed to do it. It wasn't digitized to do that. That's the design's fault. So whenever you have jump threads, you want to take your curved embroidery scissors and trim those right away, as so that they don't get caught in the rest of the embroidery. Now that I have my placement line on there, I'm going to remove the hoop from the machine, pull it out just a little bit. I have a little ironing pad. This is from embroiderygarden.com. It's got Insul Bright inside of it, and I'm just going to slip it under here. And then I have a little Cricut mini press. This is one of my favorite irons for applique. And I'm going to iron on my pieces. Let's see. And put this back into the machine and do the tack down stitch. That inflate of 1.0 millimeters is perfect. Okay, I'm going to trim the jump thread and stitch down the placement line for hive piece number 2. Now you notice I am not changing my thread colors. Just because the machine or the design says you have to change thread colors doesn't mean that you have to. Now on this, there is a jump stitch right here. Embrilliance did that. That removed underlying stitches underneath that bumblebee to decrease density in the design. That software is awesome that it automatically does that for you. I'm just ironing over that first jump stitch. The one from the tack down line, I will go ahead and trim it. Remember to remove your little ironing pad. Of course, I say you're not truly an embroiderer until you've ironed it onto your project at least once. Placement line for hive piece number 3. Okay, next is the placement line for the door. I'm going to go ahead and leave this in the gold. Now, since you're ironing your pieces down, you don't necessarily have to do the tack down stitch. But if you are doing the tack down stitch, let's see, you can leave it in a different thread color because the satin stitching will cover that. But I'm not going to do that right now. I haven't tested this to make sure that the gold won't show through. I'm just going to leave it ironed down, and I won't do the final tack down stitch. I'm going to go into needle plus minus, and I'm going to hit this little arrow right up here and jump ahead 1 stitch. There, now we're ready to do the all over satin stitching on the beehive. Now this is a table topper, so because it is already sandwiched and made into a quilt, you will see bobbin threads on the back of this project. I don't care about that because it's going to be laying on a table. Nobody's going to look at the back. Okay, it is time to stitch the yellow part of the bee body. So I normally just cut the thread like right here and drop that down the front, and then I will grab the thread tail up here on the next one and run it through the guide and tie them off with a single knot like this. Okay, and then just pull it through the machine. All right, hit the needle threader button and go. Okay, I'm going to trim that jump thread and then switch out my thread colors to silver. And I'm going to stitch the wings. I want to show you, I was doing some tests to use some mylar to make the wings kind of sparkly. And this wing piece right here is the regular stitching that's happening right now. And it's pretty dense and you really can't see the mylar through it. This is where I stopped it halfway through. And this is where I didn't do the silver stitching at all. I went ahead and just laid a piece of mylar over it and let the stitch the yellow and the black. It turned out cute, but I'm not real sure how durable that would be if it had to go through the washing machine. I don't know. I don't think it would work. So oh, this came out adorable. Oh my gosh. Look how cute that is. I'm going to go take it over to the ironing station and give it a good steam on the pressing pad too, and see if I can't get out a little bit of the puckering around here. But I am so pleased with how this turned out. It's just adorable. Okay, 1 down, 3 to go.